30 was a pivotal year for me. Now it's your time to take the control back. In my teens, I was in an abusive relationship, which I managed to get out of. But unfortunately, I then went into a second abusive relationship. And it was physical, it was mental, it was coercive control. I'm 53 years old now. I've been with my husband 22 years. The future is bright. I can now teach my daughters and my son what healthy relationships look like. And that's all I want, is to empower. And I get a little bit emotional. I want my girls to have a very different life than what I had. Have the confidence to stand up to the misogyny. Have the confidence to stand up to people that want to put you in a box. I'm about empowering women and girls at every stage, at every age.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. We are now jumping straight into the second part of this episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to part 1, I invite you to go back and listen to it now. Let's continue the conversation and pick up right where we left off. Welcome to the second part of this podcast. I'm sitting here with this fabulous woman, if you've listened to the first part, Michelle Griffith Robinson, who's a GB Olympian triple jumper, mother of 3 children, advocate, women's advocate, menopause advocate, ambassador for Diabetes UK, and you have faced mental challenges in your 20s and early 30s, just when you were at the peak of your career.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because often we look at people who are doing really well in the public sphere, and we can be so far from believing or even guessing that they might be fighting something that is at the opposite of what they represent publicly.
Yeah, I think especially now with social media being how it is, it's very much what you see is what people choose to show you. And whereas, in the 90s, and which was, thank goodness, there wasn't this social media eye on you all the time, but it just means that sometimes you'd be suffering at home in silence. So in my teens, I was in an abusive relationship, which I managed to get out of. But unfortunately, I then went into, after a few years, went back into a second abusive relationship. And it was physical, it was mental, it was coercive control. And hence why I'm an ambassador for Women's Aid now. And I've been an ambassador for Women's Aid this is my 5th year. And I was asked by Alice Living, Michelle, would you become an ambassador? Because she heard my story. And I said, absolutely. So I'm an ambassador for Women's Aid, which is an amazing charity that helps so many people, so many women and girls. And the statistics out there are startling. 1 in 4 women over the age of 16 will receive abuse in the UK.
I'm going to ask you a question I'm sure people have asked you. And the reason why I ask this question is I've heard it many times before, which is, how is a strong woman like you caught in something like that?
And you get this all the time. And first and foremost, for if any of our listeners are in that position or have got friends that they're supporting in this situation, your job as a friend, first and foremost, wouldn't be to pass judgment. Your first thing you'd say is, how have you ended up in this situation, which is the question you're asking me. Because I thought I was in love. I thought that was the right way for somebody to treat me. And it's only after a while where you get a couple more light bulb moments, you think, gosh, this can't be normal. But you're so embarrassed. I'm an Olympic athlete. I'm sponsored by Nike. I'm the face of Lucozade. I'm doing some amazing things out there. How could I come out and say I'm in an abusive relationship? So you'd almost pretend. And that's why I say social media now gives you the snippets that you choose, that what people choose to share. I think the little caveat I put there is, my 30th birthday was a pinnacle time for me. And it was my 30th birthday party. I was still competing, looking great, doing really well in my career. And my boyfriend at the time chose not to come to my 30th birthday party. We'd been together 6 years, and he said, no, I'm not coming, because he didn't like the dress I was wearing. I thought, okay, it's a bit extreme, but I'm at the party with you. He's a very jealous character as well. Anyway, he didn't come to my 30th birthday party. But needless to say, there's over 200 people at my party. Everybody kept asking, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? So I took back the control by going to the DJ and saying, can you just mention that this so-and-so is not going to come tonight? Please, the birthday party is for Michelle. Enjoy yourselves. Let's party. Let's create memories. And that way I took back the control. But I took back the control even further than that. the next day was a Monday, I contacted my solicitor and said, I want out of this. How can I get out of this relationship? Because the house was in joint names. And I was given options. And I'm a life coach now, so I love the fact that I was given options then. And I always say to people, where's your options? What's your options? When you don't have options, you feel paralyzed, whether that's with your health, when you're talking about your career. When you don't have options to develop yourself or to grow, you feel stifled, you feel caged. But my accountant gave me options. My lawyer gave me options. You can do this with this. If you do that, that will look like that. And that was the start of me coming out and walking away from an abusive relationship, which at the time I thought was okay. So the positive around that was many years later, I chose to share a little bit of snippets to some of my closest friends. And I'm an ambassador for Women's Aid and an ambassador for L'Occitane. And the reason why I mention L'Occitane here is every year, L'Occitane give 25% of their proceeds from their hand cream to Women's Aid to help women and survivors from domestic abuse. And there's a little story here. Scary Spice, Mel B, is our patron for Women's Aid. She came out of an alleged abusive relationship after 10 years. She's our patron of Women's Aid. But I used to train her 24 years ago.
Incredible.
I was her personal trainer. So when we met again in Parliament 3 years ago, we held each other and we cried. Because I knew she was in a relationship that wasn't right. I felt it when I met her. She came back from LA. She asked me to train her again for a week. And it was me and my husband that went and met her in London. She was a different person. And it was because she was being controlled in a way that, she's facade. She's a Spice Girl. That can't happen to her. Female empowerment. And if it can happen to Mel B, and if it can happen to me, rest assured it can happen to anybody out there. But it's about knowing the red flags. It's about seeing them and getting out when you can. And it's not for any of us to say, but you're a strong woman. Why did you stay in there? Get out now. No, because it might be unsafe for that person to get out there. And just a disclaimer here, if anybody's going through that, please look on the Women's Aid website. And there's a chat line there. Reach out to Refuge. Reach out, because there's so many ways that you can communicate with people that can signpost you so you can be safe. It's not always an easy journey, and it was never an easy journey, but there's ways around this.
And the way it generally happens is very gradual.
Absolutely.
Because of course a strong woman is not going to let someone just come and boss her around. But the way these mental games happen are very gradual.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few years, you find yourself in a place where you've been isolated.
There you go.
People might have taken, control
Advantage,
on parts
financial.
Financial.
Yeah.
Control parts of your life, and it becomes complicated to untangle yourself.
Absolutely. And it takes a lot of grit and strength to come out of these situations. And that's why I never judge any situation. But all I will say is, one day you will wake up and the situation, the abuse never ends. It took me 2.5 years of therapy, because you take what's happened to you into your next relationship. And I did take that into my relationship with my husband, Matt. And he said to me, whoa. I'm not that person. So you then have to alter the way you behave. And that comes with time, maturity. But I am happy to say that I'm 53 years old now. I've been with my husband 22 years and nearly 23 years. The future is bright. I can now teach my daughters and my son what healthy relationships look like. And I can put boundaries in place so that I can hopefully prevent that from happening to them, from them seeing an example, environment. My mum, Reese, you wouldn't put up with that. If you see those red flags, get out of it as soon as you can. Don't wait, because we often think that we can save this person. Oh, I can save them. I'm getting the cross for saving them. No. Sometimes it's not your job to caretake and save somebody. They got to save themselves.
Absolutely. And I want to give some credit to your husband, because I remember when we had lunch together, you told me what a supportive man he is.
Very much so.
And how he supported you with your career.
Yeah.
He sounds amazing. So it is possible to have had 1, 2 dysfunctional relationships with abuse and transform into a healthier place, find happiness, and 22 years down the line have 3 children and be happy with that person.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, our road with me and Matt is never always smooth. And it's not smooth because I stand up for myself and I'm a bit more vociferous. I'm a bit more dominant in situations, but I have to recognize that. And sometimes he says, Mish, whoa. I'm not trying to take over from you, baby. You do your thing, remember? And I have to recognize I'm not fighting against him. I'm with him. He's with me. And he wants me. He bought me a poster. This is year 3. A simple, cheap poster that he got printed out from work. To my amazing wife, always remember, be you.
So sweet.
And I got that framed, and it goes in my dressing room next week. And I got that framed. And he always said, whenever I go and I do a lot of motivational speaking, a lot of life coaching, a lot of workshops for corporate companies. He always says to me, remember what I say to you on the poster, be you. So yes, it's not always been easy for me and Matt because he's had to navigate my insecurities, which I'm openly will share. And I've obviously had to learn to trust again. But over the years, we've built up a beautiful, beautiful marriage with trust, security, understanding and respect.
And well done. And a beautiful relationship for your children.
Absolutely.
To see and to know how it looks like.
What does a healthy relationship look like? And I didn't have that growing up.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about your life coaching. So you've gone through all these things, incredible sporting achievement, motherhood, coming out of something abusive, then becoming an advocate for women, advocate for the menopause, and on top of that, you help people with their lives and you work with corporates. So tell me a bit more about it. How does it look like? How do you fit that in?
How do I fit it in? So to be honest with you, I work for brands as well. But I work for 3 charities. So again, we have to, I always shout out because I'm proud of what I do. So I work for Women's Aid, I work for Diabetes UK, and I'm also ambassador for the Menopause charity, a patron of Menopause Mandate, and the new trustee. As nearly a year ago, I got appointed, I should say, as a trustee for Mental Health UK. So these are really important things for me. And I believe that as a black woman, I have to have my name and my chair at the table in order to make change for the future. If you're not at the table, you can't make real decisions. And that's hence why I said, right, you know what, when I got appointed as non-exec director for Mental Health UK, I need to be at the table so I can steer the ship, at least have an opinion on where the ship goes. How do I fit it all in along with my life coaching? My life coaching is something that I thoroughly enjoy. I enjoy a woman coming to me feeling stuck and me being able to coach her so that she can now start to think, oh gosh, I get this. I can do more. I'm about empowering women and girls at every stage, at every age. And the thing that I found how I've done this is by utilising my sport, my health, my fitness, as well as my life coaching. So when I'm coaching, I don't share any of my stories.
Yeah.
I just ask them nice open questions. What would it look like if you did that? What are the circumstances around that? What are the consequences of if you didn't do that? What happened if you did succeed? How great would that feel? So that's me coaching them. When I'm mentoring them, then I'll share a little snippet of my life and how I've managed to turn things around. I'm busy. I work for big brands, Dunelm, Clarks, whoever will have me. So anybody out there wants me, you know where to find me, but find yourself first. My brand, I'm very clear on my brand. I'm about empowering women and girls. My mum, like I've said, is my role model. She's my hero. I think my mother is fantastic. She's been through a very big journey, and I won't share all of it now because it will spoil my book when I do it, because I'm doing a book around my mama. But one of the things my mum will always tell me is when you fall hard, you learn the lessons to come back up again. I have 2 amazing daughters. My eldest daughter's at Cambridge doing politics. My other daughter is a future Olympic champion, in my humble opinion. She's going to the States to do medicine as well, kinesiology. And then my son is so loved. He's got an amazing father that scoops him up, kisses him, hugs him. He's got his sisters that love him, kiss him up, loves him, kiss him up. We're always fighting over this little boy because he understands what it's like to grow up in a female environment that is strong and powerful, but at the same time allowing him to be who he is. And that's all I want, is to empower. And I get a little bit emotional. I want my girls to have a very different life than what I had. I want my girls to have the education, which they do have in abundance, have the support, what they do have in an abundance, but challenge and question something that doesn't feel right. Have the confidence to stand up to the misogyny. Have the confidence to stand up to people that want to put you in a box. Oh, you're just sporty. No, you're not. You're more than just sport. And that's what I hope for the future, to help another young little black girl from Wembley to believe she can also be great despite the challenges she may have faced.
Well done. Well done. But it's true that we tend to put people in boxes. But frankly, not just a black girl from Wembley. I remember I've done work, charity work in education. And today, the children that the least looked at are white little boys from poor backgrounds. So it's a duty we all have, is to pay attention to everyone and to not put people in boxes.
Absolutely.
I know in my life I definitely suffered from discrimination. I moved to France when I was 12, Moroccan Iranian. I was the only foreigner in the school. Yeah. There was one Jewish girl and me, and everyone else was French Catholic.
Yeah.
So
you know what it's like.
So I remember, and actually it gave me the drive to become top of the class and show them that I could write better French than they could.
There you go. Très bien, ouais.
Très bien, oui. And I wrote, but I'll give you an example. There was this nationwide writing competition.
Yeah.
And we sent our text to the Ministère de l'Éducation nationale, so the education minister, anonymously. And then at school we got graded. My French teacher adored me, okay? And I adored her. And I got 15 out of 20. And the very French blonde, blue-eyed girl, top of the class, got 17 out of 20. But out of the entire school, I was the only one selected for the next round when it was anonymous marking.
Oh, wow. Discrimination, you see?
But that's unconscious.
Yeah.
Because my French subconscious. Because my French teacher adored us. I remember bias. I still have letters from her.
I love her.
She was a lovely woman from Corsica. She's passed away now. I still have very fond memories of her, but it's just how it is. Or the other thing that later down the line I had was that if you were a girl who wasn't very pretty, people thought you had more chances of being intelligent than if you looked good.
Yeah.
And then boys will suffer from something else.
Of course.
Everyone
has their push and pull.
So I think we need to hold ourselves accountable in our perception of others.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's our perception of others. And my husband's in education now. My husband's a deputy head. And in an independent school. And so he says that as well, his job, he had the privilege to go to a private school for his sporting success. And that allowed him to be top of his game in his education. And I said to him, so what do you think would have happened had you stayed in the state school that you were in Wales? He said, I probably wouldn't have had the exposure, unfortunately, than what I have now. And I wouldn't have been had my 4 or 5 Welsh caps, international caps at rugby. I wouldn't be able to say, right, do you know what? I turned my hands from being head of biomechanics and physiology into education. And actually my husband's PhD now is to try and find out why we don't have more black leaders in independent schools. Because the more you can have more senior leaders, black leaders in independent schools, the little black boy looking up can aspire to more. And right now in the UK, we have got a huge problem with young black boys, especially in London, achieving. So collectively, if, like you said, Yalda, if we all have this responsibility to use our success, use what we have to create positive change, the world's going to be a better place.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Each person a little bit.
Each
and it
person,
adds up.
and I always say, pay it forward.
Beautiful.
Pay it forward and send the lift back down.
So there's a question I love asking people who are in health, particularly women who look after themselves. I want to know, what are the main tools you use every day. Share with us your toolbox. What are the main rituals that you do every day to keep well mentally, physically, radiating, being this full of energy and glowing?
Number one, very simple one. And I would like somebody to say that they do this after listening to this podcast. Every morning when I wake up, put my feet on the floor, give gratitude. Number one. Number two, I will find 5 minutes just to do some light yoga poses. Breathing in, breathing out, setting myself up, stretching, breathing. And, if I could show you guys, I would. But obviously I'm sitting down here in a podcast. But child's pose, downward dog, really stretching out my hamstrings, loosening off my back. 10 stretches, reaching up, making myself feel strong like a tree, growing, environment, breathing in. That's what I do. Then I go downstairs and I take a Simproof shot for my gut health. And then I go outside and I take in a little bit of fresh air. And that's how I set up my day. The one thing that is non-negotiable for me is my positive affirmations. I look at my positive affirmations board and I pick one. I've got them all over. My husband does my husband's head in. So I'm like, okay, that's my positive affirmation. I am enough. I deserve to be here. Because sometimes you've got those days where you don't feel you're quite on your A game. So I go to my positive affirmations and I repeat them, look in the mirror. I use my L'Occitane serum for my skin. I'm blessed that I have good skin. My mother has beautiful skin. So I use my L'Occitane serum and I use my Immortelle Divine cream, which I've been using for 2.5 years now. I drink a shed load of water and I get a lot of protein in my system throughout the day. But also, I create a circle of people around me, trusted people around me, that will tell me the truth if I'm acting up, but who will also tell me the truth when I'm doing great. My circle of truth with my friendship groups is important to me too. Connectivity.
I love that, particularly the circle of truth. When someone gives you real feedback,
amen,
you know they're a real friend.
Absolutely.
So English is not my native language.
I tell you what, you would never think that, Yalda. Jeez.
But when people correct my little mistakes, I'm like, you're a friend.
Absolutely. And it's being able to say these things. And I've never been before, last 10 years ago, I was the one that would just blurt things out, like inappropriately, like, what are you doing? Now I show a lot more compassion and empathy because I'm older, I'm wiser. But I will tell you the truth, but don't ask me for the truth if you're not willing for me to share it. That's the bottom line. And you can't have yes people around you all the time. Michelle, you're great, you're great, you're great. No, I'm not always great. I won't always get it right. But you have to know that my core values and my intentions are right.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I love this conversation. You're so inspirational.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to all your listeners for tuning in to your podcast. And you're going to help me get out of this pre-diabetic zone.
Yeah, we're going to fix that. We shall fix that. It's not complicated. We're going to fix it.
Amazing.
Thank you to all of you who listened. I'm going to link Michelle's Instagram handle and all her details if you want to reach out to her for corporate collaborations, for workshops, for life coaching, personal training. You'll be able to find her. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. Thank you so much to all of you for listening to this podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always such a pleasure to talk about health because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Looking after our health is a daily thing, just like brushing our teeth. We've got to focus on it, we've got to do it right so we can live better and happier lives. For those of you who are not members of the platform yet, we have a discount code for all our podcast listeners. You can get 15% off the memberships. Just enter the code podcast15 at checkout. And make sure to read all the articles and all the free content we have on eatburnsleep.com to keep you motivated and informed and educated about living an anti-inflammatory lifestyle.